to the barber lately or not?
I cleaned it up for you.
Lee, don't you have some equipment over there that you can send up to help Mario out with that beard?
Yeah, I think we could probably do that.
Get a
Will this
bushwhack.
do it? Will these do it?
There you go.
Hey, Bill, you can take him back to the blacktop plant, and shave him up a little bit.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do that to Mario. No, he's a
I'm
good
trying
man.
to change my look up a little bit.
You know, one of the
glasses for crying out loud.
your two players on the Chiefs caught were exposed by their barber.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't think
Okay.
they have it, but their barber has it.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Enter, and I am the chairman of the Maryland Transportation Authority Capital Committee, and we'll be conducting the morning meeting. I call the meeting of the Capital Committee to order at 9 a.m. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the Maryland Transportation Authority Capital Committee page. As a reminder, all members of the Capital Committee will have their video active during the entire meeting. To minimize background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone on the line please mute your phones. I ask that anyone who is presenting or answering questions to please turn your video and audio on when speaking. When you are done, please return your video off and put your audio on mute. There are no members of the public, no elected officials, and the media that have pre-registered to comment today's meeting. At this time, I would like to move to agenda item number 1, which is approval of open session meeting minutes of January 7th, 2021.
I'd make the motion to approve, Member Cox.
I'll
All in
second Member Gaines.
Okay. All in favor? So
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. So be. Next on the agenda is approval of Kennedy Highway 3009-0000, I-95 Northern Transmission Express toll lanes to Maryland 152, and that would be Brian Wolf. Brian?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Brian Wolf. I am Director of Project Development for the Office of Engineering and Construction, and I am here to present contract KH 3009-0000. This is the I-95 ETL northbound extension from Maryland 43 to just south of Maryland 152. The work to be performed under this contract includes the extension of the 2 northbound ETL lanes, a little over 6 miles from 43 to south of Maryland 152 interchange, and it is part of the overall I-95 ETL northbound extension program. The scope of work on this contract will include the construction of the express toll lanes, and that will involve earthwork, excavation, site grading, paving, erosion and sediment control, stormwater management, replacement of the Rafael Road overpass, as well as the replacement of the northbound bridges over the Big Gunpowder and Little Gunpowder rivers, as well as noise walls and some retaining walls, maintenance of traffic, and other miscellaneous work. There are allowance items on the contract. There is a $5 million miscellaneous construction allowance. There is a $50,000 public relations support item. There is $35,000 for partnering. There is a $159,000 incentive for the detour of Rafael Road. There is also a $234,000 incentive for having the ETO lanes available for our toll system contractor. There is a $95,400 incentive for the general purpose lanes for the final pavement, and a $75,000 incentive for completion of work that is within the Department of Natural Resources property for that work. The engineer's estimate for this contract was $183,626.736 and 10 cents. The bid date, the ad date was August 15th of 2020, and we received bids on December 18th of 2020. The number of bids received was 8. The low bid was submitted by Alan Myers in the amount of approximately $175.3 million. And we are recommending award of this contract to Alan Myers. Bid price is about 5% below the engineer's estimate. And there were no bid rejections or protests. And this contract is 100% funded by the toll dollars from our customers. And no bid justification was required for this contract. Alan Myers has submitted an MBE plan of approximately 16% MBE and 1% VSBE. And the plan approval is pending from our Civil Rights and Fair Practices group. Alan Myers has completed several recent projects for MDTA, including KH 3013, 3016, and they are currently working on several contracts for us on at KH 3010, which is the auxiliary lane south of Maryland 24. They also have the contract for the Maryland 24, Maryland 924 park and ride, as well as the Abingdon Road overpass. NTP is anticipated in April of this year, and the completion date for this contract is April 30th of 2024. And we are seeking approval from the Capital Committee to present this contract to the full MDTA board. Thank you.
Chairman, I have a quick question.
Yeah, Bill.
Again, Brian, thank you. And looks like it's, you know, you had a good number of, as you say, 8 bids. Alan Myers was obviously the low bid by what, about 6 million? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I guess the question is, and we keep bringing this up because of, you know, I've been on the board about 4.5 years of making sure that this project, and as all projects with any contractor, but for this particular contractor, that they stay on schedule. And I see it's an incentive to stay on schedule and not be moving, obviously, time lags. We've seen as Mr. Ports in his old role remembered some projects here that took a little longer, a lot longer than was supposed to. And I just keep reminding that we like to see projects on time and on budget.
Understood.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Bill. You know, we have really been on Alan Myers, and as you may know, I had a pretty firm discussion with them when I was in my previous job. Told them that their model does not work for us anywhere throughout MDOT, including SHA and MDTA. Told them that we were going to start moving in a lot of projects to the A+B type project or having incentives, and that their current model of low bidding not having the crews to complete them, moving crews around to whoever's screaming the loudest at that time, which I know you are very familiar with that one up in Harford County. So am I, and I still feel it. But after I had that sit down with some of their higher ups, they were a little shocked, I guess, at how frank I was with them, and they seem to have heard the message. And so we have been getting much better service out of them, and they have been completing projects on time. And I think Brian and Will and others would echo that fact with Alan Myers. But that being said, we're going to keep our eyes on them continually. So trust me, we've heard you. I've experienced it myself in many, many jobs, including SHA jobs. So we are definitely keeping our eye on them. But they have seemed to turn things around a bit.
Good. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. I have a question. Brian, you were, this is a hell of a job, by the way, and I'm really pleased with the bidding being so close. So that's really good. Can you explain just a little bit more about all these different incentives? You said like there was an incentive for the natural resources. Yeah, I mean, several of them I didn't quite follow it all.
Yeah, so in relation to the incentive for the DNR property, there is a section it's including some earthwork for the embankment, and that embankment is encroaching into a piece of DNR's property that is considered a 6F property. And so in order to mitigate having to do substantial mitigation with the agencies, because we were impacting that property, if we can complete the work within that area within 6 months, that gets the authority out of having to go back to the agencies and go through a 6F process for that impact. It's a very lengthy process with the federal agencies to clear that work. So if we can do it within 6 months, we're able to mitigate that. So that incentive is in there to have the contractor get in and get out as quickly as possible within that window to avoid having to go through a 6F process with the federal agencies.
And we put in the amount of bonus they get for that. That's something we said we put in, I guess, 37,000 or something like that.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. We put that in there.
And so the other incentives were similar, I guess, or because we're not really dealing with traffic too much here, are we? I guess we will be eventually.
Yeah. So the incentives, for example, the incentive for the ETL lanes being open. That was to get the project of the lanes open so that we have sufficient time to allow the equipment supplier to come in, install the electronic tolling system, and allow them sufficient time to run through their testing protocols to make sure everything's running properly before they're opened up to traffic. So that incentive is there to get the contractor to get those lanes open with enough time, with enough window before the lanes are open, to have the equipment tested and installed correctly.
I mean, the job is going to take 3 years. So when do they have to have those lanes open? 2.5 years or something like that?
No, I mean, they would still be open at the end of the 3 years, but the intent was that they did not run all the way up to the very end of the contract. Right. And then we're scrambling to squeeze in the testing protocols, because it takes several weeks for the system supplier to run through the installation and testing protocols. So it's the incentives there to get them to get in and get that work completed as quickly as possible, so that we don't run up to a bind with the system operator.
Right. I hope you don't run out of quality when he's doing that.
No, I honestly, with the contracts that we've had so far with Alan Myers, we have seen quality work from them. I'm not aware of having any major issues with them in terms of the work they've performed. For example, the noise walls that were completed at the very beginning of the ETL program, they were both done by Alan Myers, and both are looking great and were completed on time. So we've been doing well with Allen Myers on the contracts we've had so far with them.
I guess
Here
I'll
you-
ask the $1 million question or the $175 million question. I assume we can afford this. And I asked that question in light of the declining revenues.
Yes, this contract has been in the ETL program. We had the funding allocated for it. As I noted, we actually had allocated more money, the 183 million, our estimate that was in the program. And their bid is under that. So yes, we do have the funding for this contract.
And Member Enzer, I wanna make a comment on that quality issue. Yeah, as you know, I drive these roads too, and I noticed early on that, and I forget the term, forgive me, I know you'll know it too, of how you overlap the asphalt so that it makes a better seal in between lanes. And I noticed that you know, it wasn't done properly. And I called Will Pines and I said, why are we accepting, or why are our inspectors accepting this kind of quality work if you're not overlapping these lane connections? I don't know what the proper term is. I know you're an asphalt guy, you know the proper term.
You talk
But-
about the longitudinal joints,
What is it?
longitudinal joints.
Longitudinal joints, okay.
Yeah.
So I recognize, even me, not being a pro in that field, I recognize they weren't done properly, and I questioned our inspectors. Now, Will got back to me and said that was not the final coat, that they were going to be putting the final coat on very soon, and he would make sure that they were done properly. And so I want to let you know, I've already made engineering and our inspectors aware that we are not going to accept poor quality work. I noticed one on White Marsh 43 ramp that you know ended up having a hole in the surface right after it was completed. And I'm not sure why there was a hole there, but I'm like, who accepted this? And then, of course, they had to go back and redo it and fix it. But you know, the days of just accepting the work that's completed are over. I can assure you. We're looking for quality work that's going to last a long time.
And for everyone. I mean, everyone's
You
got
got
the
it.
same page. And years ago, when Larry Michaels was running the state highway, you remember Larry? And he was a nut on making sure that those longitudinal joints were perfect, because once it starts opening up in a little area, it just goes.
We're done.
Grows.
Yeah. Yeah, once the cold weather comes in, water goes down the cracks, ice pops it out, we're done. We're done. It's a mess, and we got a maintenance nightmare. And that's, quite frankly, that's exactly why I'm all over it. And the last thing I want to mention too, with regard to this project, I just want to remind all the members that we do have the virtual hearing tonight on the I-95 ETL northbound extension for Maryland 24, the auxiliary lanes that Brian had mentioned a few minutes ago. So that hearing is tonight. I believe it's 7 o'clock. So just to mention.
Very good. Anyone else have any comments or words of wit?
Make a motion that we approve the contracts to
Mario will second.
Myers.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so be it.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Jim, you're right. Somebody's got to keep an eye on it. Big time. You know, it's an old saying out there that good roads cost money, bad roads cost more.
Costs more. Yeah.
Cost more.
And I can assure you that Brian's a very good engineer. He's done some terrific work. He's had some obviously very big projects. I tell you, between him, Jim Hartness, Will, and Tony and Tabasco, I mean, we've got some very, very talented people, and there's many, many more I could name, but these guys understand what we're looking for, and they're doing it now. I can assure you.
Good. Okay, so we have an approval. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Next, we have the FIZ. FP 3009-000-9 superstructure repairs on various bridges north and south of Fort McHenry Tunnel.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, members. My name is Nafez Al-Qasim. I am the Deputy Director of Project Development at the in the Office of Engineering and Construction, and I'm here to present contract number FT 3009, which is the superstructure repairs to various bridges north and south of the Fort McHenry Tunnel. The scope of work includes superstructure repairs such as fatigue retrofits and drainage system repairs to 19 bridges on I-95, like I said, both north and south of the Fort McHenry Tunnel. This project was advertised on September 2nd of last year. We opened bids on October 22nd. The anticipated notice to proceed is on March 21st of this year. The duration of this contract is 480 days. Again, like I said, we opened bids on October 22nd. We received 5 bids. The low bid was submitted by Concrete General. It was for about approximately $4.9 million. The engineer's estimate was $10.2 million. So the low bid was about $5.8 million below the engineer's estimate. The contract has a MBE goal of 20% and a VSBE goal of 1%. The contractor did meet both, or the low bidder met both goals, and both goals were approved by the Office of Fair Practices. We did analyze there was a protest on this contract, but it was resolved, and it did not result in rejecting the low bid or having to change the status of the 5 bids we received. This project is 100% funded by our customer toll dollars. Again, like I said, the low bid was about 5.8 million below the engineer's estimate. We did analyze the bids, or the low bid, and we discovered that 2 items made up the difference between the low bid and the engineer's estimate. Those items were item 4001, which is doing steel repairs or fatigue retrofit. That item, the engineer's estimate was almost $7 million, and the low bid was like $1.2 million for that item. And the second item was installing or replacing the drainage pipes to carry the stormwater system out of the box girders down into the roadway below. The engineer's estimate for that item was about $882,000, and the contractor's low bid was about $123,000. The difference between the two was about a little bit over $500,000. So if you take like the item that was higher than the engineer's estimate and the item that was lower and subtract them, you come up with the difference between the entire difference between the low bid and the engineer's estimate. Following that, we did get in touch with Concrete General to make sure that they understood the work involved with those 2 items and that they were comfortable with their bid price. And they did concur that, yes, they understood 100% the work entailed or involved with those 2 items, and they were very comfortable with their bid price. And they can perform both items with the bid price submitted. So based on that, we decided to move forward with accepting their low bid. And Thank you very much. Any questions?
I have a question. I mean, it's more of a general question, but we're getting some very good bids now. Is that, I mean, have you all analyzed why they're all coming in below the, I guess every job is different, but the fact that we're getting so many bidders, is that because of the general reduction in the amount of work the state's putting out now, and these guys are a little hungrier?
Absolutely.
That's sort of the obvious answer, I guess, but I mean,
Yeah, that's a big reason behind that. Yeah, as you know, state highways not putting out any jobs, no other state agencies, even neighboring states, because we're getting bids, you know, from out of town and what have you. So that's basically us.
I noticed it took quite a long time to get to us, bid in October. Now here we are in February. Is that, I guess, because of the protest? Did that delay things a couple
Yes.
months?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the bid protest, it took about a couple of months to resolve that. It had to do with the MBE goal, that 60% rule. They protested that, but like I said, that was resolved without having to change
Right.
reject the low bid or change the status of any bids.
Member Gaines, this is Donna DeCervo, Director of
Hey,
Procurement.
Donna.
Just to share that MD Miller, doing business as Marksman, did protest Concrete General. And it did have to do with some of their MBE work, but they also were complaining that they didn't submit the healthcare affidavit correctly. And that speaks to responsibility and not the responsiveness of the bid. So we did a procurement officer's determination, and that responsibility issue was cured. And Concrete General met the burden. So they did protest, but the protest was denied, and the appeal was never received. They did not appeal to the Maryland Board of Contract Appeals, so that was all resolved timely and can move forward.
Thank you.
Donna, just in that case, going back a little bit of history, if they had appealed, we wouldn't be here today with this bid, correct? It would be going on for a period of time.
Well, it all depends on what the basis of the appeal would be and what the report from the AG's office would agree or not agree with. They could appeal it, and we could deny that. MSBCA could do a report to deny that appeal, or it could go to a full-blown investigation. So it's hard to say which way that pendulum swings. But obviously, Eddie Miller knew that they really didn't have a leg to stand on. And honestly, we've seen a lot more protests under COVID because they have nothing to lose and everybody is bidding for the same work.
Right.
So they'll throw, there's nothing to dissuade them from protesting. So a lot of them have.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they have standing or merit to their complaints.
Thank you.
But to your point, yes, we would likely, if the appeals board did not weigh in or do a report, very unusually at times we can move forward under a bid protest, but that is certainly not the norm, and that would have to be something that would be a high profile, very important project for the MDTA.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or concerns?
It's Mario. I'll move for approval of this contract.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. So be. So, if there are any other,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. I think there's nothing else that we need to discuss today with this agenda. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Signify by aye.
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 Okay, ayes have it. So be it. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.